Welcome back everyone to my channel. I'm sorry it's been a while. I had originally started this video a long time ago and I ended up getting sick, and so through the video it sounded really awful because I was sneezing and coughing and boogery. So I decided to do a voiceover for this video. Therefore you might see my hand motions don't really match what I'm saying here. But today I'm going to show you how to make this pretty cool watercolor palette. And you don't necessarily have to use it with watercolors. You could use it with other paints, or you could even find different things to use it for. Like you could put jewelry in the bowl, or you could put things on your palette like that you need a tray to hold. I mean, there are so many things that you could use this for. The only thing I wouldn't use this for is putting like food you would actually consume on it. And of course, I don't think it's microwavable and definitely not dishwasher safe. So I would stay away from putting any kind of food on this palette. So you're going to need some supplies, and I gave you a list of the supplies that you will need in the very beginning, so you can always scroll back and refer back to that if you need to. I will also link things below so you can easily find some of these materials that I've used. But basically you're going to need a couple bowls. One like kind of a medium-sized bowl to create the palette with, and I think mine was about 10 inches in diameter, but I mean any size can do. You just kind of want to keep in mind that your water bowl should be a little bit smaller than your actual palette, and I think my water bowl was about 6 inches in diameter. So you're gonna need those, and then the Sculpey oven baked clay is what I used in white, and you can find it at almost any craft store. You could also probably find it on Amazon or probably like Walmart.com. I mean, there's probably several places you could get the Sculpey oven baked clay. And I got the 1 3/4 pound just because I wasn't sure how much I was going to need, but I do have extra left over, so that's kind of fun. I'll make some other projects with it. And I got the white so that I could paint it. They have like a beige color and a gray color, so I mean you could get those, but if you're gonna paint it you probably just want white. And then I got some glaze, some Sculpey satin glaze, and that will actually, you'll apply that after you've baked the clay and painted it, and that will waterproof it, and it'll kind of seal it so that paint and whatever doesn't get into the little crevices. And what else? So you need some paint. Pick out some paint colors. I picked out a dark navy blue for my bowl because I wanted to do like a star theme in the bowl. And then I picked out like a white, what's called eggshell shimmer to paint my palette with. And I recommend keeping whatever you paint your palette with, keep it light, like almost, a sheer color. I wouldn't paint it anything dark, because if you're going to mix paint colors on your palette, then you want to be able to see like, how it mixes together, and it'll be very hard to see that on a dark background. And then I picked out what was called blue velvet, and I cannot even remember where I got this color paint, but I love the blue color that it turns out. It's a dark navy blue, which I love. So I used that to paint the inside of my bowl. And then I used a metallic 14 karat gold that I got from Target in their little craft section, and that's what I used to make the stars inside of my bowl, and then also painted it or put it on the outside top edge of my bowl and my palette. You could use other colors, of course. You could use silver if you wanted. you want to make sure, and I kind of didn't explain this or show this very well, is make sure that if you are going to use a metallic color on, say like the edges of the bowl or the palette, paint it with a darker color first and then put the metallic over it. Otherwise you're going to end up spending your time putting a ton of layers of the metallic paint on the edges, and you'll see in just a minute what I mean when I've painted the edges of the palette and the bowl with a metallic. It just shows up better when it's on a darker color. And then of course you need some paintbrushes, and you need a X-Acto knife and a little rolling pin to roll out your clay with, which I've already shown in my video. On top of the bowl, I kind of molded the clay around the top of the bowl to kind of give it the circular form. For the palette, you want it more flat, so that's why I laid it out and then kind of pushed up the edges to make just a little tiny edge. But the actual bowl that's going to hold water, I put it right inside of my glass bowl, and you'll see I bake it right in that glass bowl because it needs to stay that bowl form. Otherwise, I was afraid it was going to flatten out if I didn't keep it in that glass bowl. So if you get a glass bowl, make sure it's just oven safe. I mean, you don't bake this at a very high temperature, but still you just want to make sure it's oven safe. And then I just showed you the little water bowl that I had created like when I first started working on this project. I used a paint that already had like glittery stars in them, and you could absolutely take that shortcut and use that paint instead of doing what I'm doing here and painting actual stars inside of your bowl. If you decided to do a star theme like I did, it just kind of saves a little bit of time if you can just swipe that glitter paint right over your bowl, or you can paint them like I did, whichever you prefer. So after you've got everything rolled out and you've got your shapes and everything, you've got your bowl and you've got your palette shaped how you want, you would put it on a baking sheet. I put a piece of like wax paper down, and then I put my bowls on top of the wax paper on top of my baking sheet, and I put it in the oven, and I baked it at 275 for about 20 minutes. Every oven varies, every oven is different. You just want to check it. Though one thing you don't want it to happen is that you don't want it to burn, and then it would end up turning like a brown if it burns. So you can follow the instructions on the back of the Sculpey oven baked clay box. It tells you to bake your project for 15 minutes for every 1/4 inch. So my palette and my bowl were about 1/4 inch thick. They need to be a little bit thicker to kind of hold form, so they don't need to be much thicker than that, but just keep it in mind that you want it just a little bit thicker. And then after it's baked, of course you paint it like I just did, whatever colors you want. Make sure you pick like an acrylic paint that's like multi-purpose, I guess, so that when you put the satin glaze on and stuff, it's going to withhold to that and not get flaky, or I don't know, just make sure it's multi-purpose. And then after you've painted, then you're going to put your glaze on, your satin glaze, and like I said, it kind of waterproofs and seals it so that you can put water in your bowl and you can put paint on your palette, or if you need to wash this off, I suggest just washing it with like a soap and water, or even just water and using a towel and wiping it off. I would not put water in the bowl and leave it there for a prolonged period of time. I noticed when I put water in my bowl, it kind of, it got weird on the inside, but I also did not let it dry for as long as I should have after I had put the glaze on. But yeah, that's another thing. So after you put your glaze on, you want it to cure for about 48 hours, I would say. I cut that a little bit short, and I wanted to test it out, and it got a little bit watery, not bubbly, but it just got weird on the inside when I put the water in. So let your glaze clear, and I would put like, I put 3 coats of glaze on mine. You could probably go 4 coats, just to make sure you've got all the pieces covered and nothing's left unsealed. And then, yeah, just let it dry. And it's kind of a process, because not only do you have to like paint the inside and the sides, you got to paint the bottom, and you got to let it dry in between the coats. So make sure you're setting aside like some time to do this, or you can break it up and do it over, you know, several days, or however you need to do it if you attempt it. But yeah, you'll need like time in between layers of paint. Like, I think, you know, this paint, acrylic paint, takes like 15-20 minutes to dry. You could also like take a blow dryer to it to speed up the dry time. And then between layers of glaze, you'll want to leave about 30 minutes for it to dry. And then once you're done with all your layers of glaze, just let it dry, you know, both sides of your bowl and your palette. Like, let it dry for 48 hours, and you can kind of, you know, flip it over here and there where you need to. Yeah, so once you're done and it's all dry, you can put your water in it and mix up some paint on your palette and have fun with it. And like I said, you don't always have to, you know, use paint with this. There are a million other things that you could do. And even when you're painting the palette and the bowl, I mean, you don't have to make it look like a moon. I just, you know, everybody knows I love moons, so that's what I chose to do with mine, and that's why I painted my bowl on the inside to look like a starry night. And I even painted the bottom of the bowl and the bottom of the palette like that as well. But I mean, get creative. You can do whatever you want. I could, you know, when I was painting this, I thought of a million different ideas like that I could do with this, and I was like, okay, you got to reel it back in, just pick one thing. But I think it would be really cute to put like maybe some constellations inside of the bowl, or you could even make this as a gift for, you know, somebody, and kind of customize it for that person, just depending on what you want to do with it. But yeah, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed watching me create this, and I put a little watercolor, I guess it wouldn't be a tutorial. I just decided to show you that how I was using my watercolor palette, and painted a moon, and thought you would enjoy watching that. So I'm gonna let you watch the rest of that, and thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Again, I apologize. This has been a long time coming, this video. There's been so much going on in my life, and I often don't get to the things that I really love doing like this, and life, you know, all the things in life take priority. So I'm happy to be able to release this finally, because I feel like I've been making this for about 2 months and ended up getting pretty sick, like back to back, and could not finish it. And like I said, I had originally talked through making this, and I was sneezing, I was coughing. I believe my daughter pops in at one point in the beginning of the video with her hands, and I had to redo it, and then she did it again, and I said, oh, forget it, we'll just leave it. So I hope you enjoy it anyway. Yeah, so if you like it, give me a like. I'd love for you to subscribe. I plan on making many more videos. If you have any questions for me, please put them down below. Thanks.